This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Power Tank, and Medical Gear Outfitters.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 309, ARB USA.
Tonight, Aaron gets jacked, Jeremy comes out of the garage, and Ben is rolling.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron and Jeremy. And tonight, we are joined by Dirk from ARB USA. Welcome to the show, and it only took 2 years.
The weekend review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off. So, Ben, what have you been up to this week?
Oh, you just wanted to start with me. Well, let's start off with the good thing. Look at that. Look at that wheel and tire combo. Does that not look beautifully done and torqued properly?
Looks a lot like my wheel and tire combo, except smaller.
Yeah, except smaller.
Ouch.
Well, here I am. They're on. They're rolling. I need to adjust my caster still. My caster is a little too far back. So I can't. I rub at full lock. Or not full lock, not even full lock.
Yeah.
So I need to adjust my caster forward a little bit, but I've got lots of room up front, so that's gonna get done here soon. And then but that's the Forerunner's on the back burner for a little bit because I leave for Montana in like T-6 days, and I'm excited. And I'm not even
I'm excited for you too. I'm bummed that you're not taking the Forerunner though.
I'm so bummed I'm not taking it, but we're taking the Ford Expedition for space and child space, so I can spread out my children so they don't beat each other to death on the 9-hour drive, or actually it's going to be more than 9 hours to Flathead Lake. So I'm pretty.
I can't remember. Did you put new tires on the Expedition also?
Yeah, the Expedition just got new tires before the Forerunner did.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good.
Because
right on.
Those were more important to the wife. So
always is.
The most new tires that Ben has ever owned at one time.
Yes, it is. And the funny thing is, I was doing some math, and for what I spent on just my tires is what I spent on the last 4 or 5 sets of tires.
Used tires.
Used tires. No, 3 or 4. 3 sets of tires. 3 or 4 sets of tires. Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
that's not a stat I would advertise.
No, it's not. It's a bad thing. It's a very bad thing. So,
just stimulating the economy.
That's all. I've admitted my sins, and I have repented with brand new Milestar Patagucci's, and I'm very happy with them. They are what they say for like the road and the wet and all that. That crown, it rides on them great. It tracks great down the road. The nicest thing that I can say right now is my steering wheel doesn't shake or anything from how terrible those tires were. So yeah, it's the smoothest ride I've had in a while, and they're really quiet. Like for a mud terrain, I'm amazed at how quiet they are because they ride on that crown.
Welcome to the 20th century.
I know. I've entered the future.
Raising the bar.
What's next? I might get a new rig next. Probably not.
You finally got new tires in this one. Don't change out the rig just now.
Yeah. No, I'd have to. Coy had sent me a rig that a friend was selling. It was a 4th gen with a V8, and he's like, they would like take like $4,000. I'm like sitting there with my wife. I'm like, it's a V8, and it's about the same miles, about 30,000 less. Like, we could do this. And she's just like, from what money? Where is it coming from? Not happening. Go in your garage. Like, go away. So yeah. Well, Jeremy, since we went to me, what about you, man?
Well, I finally put the wheels back on the Jeep, and after probably 11 months, backed it out of the garage.
It hasn't been 11 months, has it?
It has. I think
So
October
Really?
went into the garage.
I see you had a helper for getting those wheels on.
Or I guess maybe it's 10 months. Yep. So obviously, if you're watching on live, there's my daughter pretending to put the wheels on as I'm doing the wheel on the other side.
Can I cut you off real quick, Jeremy, and mention Andy's comment here? This is a specific tip for all the guys out there to use with your wife. Tell her that you're gonna sell your rig, but then don't sell it. So that's how you just, yeah, you can get other
You can only do
things.
that once.
The old bait and switch.
Yep.
Nah, if I would have done that, I would have just like transferred the stock parts over, and too much hassle though.
Yeah.
So it came out of the garage.
How low did you have to deflate your tires?
Not at all. It rolled right out.
Nice.
I had about an
Nice.
inch to clear. So it goes in and out of the garage, no problem. The suspension will even probably settle a little bit more, and I'll get a little bit more of of clearance. So I was happy about that because I immediately pulled it back into the garage because I noticed that the axles weren't quite centered. So the front axle that I needed to adjust the track bar because it was sitting a little bit to the driver's side, and then the rear axle wasn't quite centered in the wheel well. So I was able to recenter those. As I was recentering the rear axle, I had a little bit of a concern about the rear drive shaft, making sure that it had enough travel to accommodate the axle moving forward because it needed to move forward. So I ended up pulling the rear drive shaft off the yoke at the axle, compressing that. I can't think of what that's called. I keep wanting to say slip yoke, but it's not a slip yoke. But anyway,
Cardian?
no, that's up at the transfer case. The slip splines, we'll call it that for now. So I ended up pushing it all the way in, marking it with a silver Sharpie, and then installing it in the Jeep, and then drooping out the suspension. And it didn't hit. It didn't bottom out. So I had about an eighth of an inch, a little bit more than an eighth of an inch of room left. And so I called up Adams today and said, "Hey, here's what I got. Is that okay?" And they said, "Yep, as long as it's not bottoming out at the bottom of the travel, you're going to be okay." They said if you bottom out that drive shaft, you probably have more things going wrong than just the drive shaft bottoming out. I said, "Fair enough." And so the drive shaft isn't put all the way back in because last night I just kind of put the U-bolt straps, the U-bolts back onto the yoke with the drive shaft. I didn't really tighten them down. So I got to tighten them down. And then also yesterday I went ahead and reprogrammed the Jeep to the new axle gear ratio and the new tire size. So I am basically ready to go. I need to go get the tires balanced. So I had to figure out who could balance a 40-inch tire. Shout out to Discount Tire because they were the only one in my area who would balance a 40-inch tire on a beadlock. And I
Nice.
don't have to take it off my Jeep, unlike Ben who has to take his off his Toyota wherever he's going. They will take them off my Jeep and balance them and then put them back on. And then I need to rebleed the brakes. So that was the other thing I found out is the brake pedal was a little squishy. So I picked up a power bleeder. I'm gonna do it right. I try to do the old trick of having somebody pumping the brakes, but my wife wasn't too thrilled when she was doing it, so I kind of rushed through it. So I don't think I got all the air out of it. So
I want to hit you up on coming over and using that power bleeder sometime too.
Sure, you just got to buy the right cap.
Yep.
It hooks up to the master cylinder.
Oh,
And it's got a 2-quart reservoir, so you don't have to keep topping off the master cylinder. And so it makes it a nice, easy one-person job for sure. So that comes in on Wednesday. So I should have that done maybe Wednesday night. And then Thursday, I have an appointment for an alignment, and I have an appointment to get the tires balanced. And really on the alignment, I just want them to check the alignment. I think I have it pretty much dialed into into the correct settings. So I just want them to confirm mostly. I don't really want them to be touching many of the stuff because I would have gone to Northridge, but they're like 3 months out on any work that you need done. So I'm just going to go over to Firestone.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
insane.
pretty crazy right now.
Yeah.
You the most you'll probably need done is your toe, because I know that metal cloak they give you all the hey you need your control arms at this length and that they
Yeah,
do
but
a
that's
pretty
just
good
a
job.
starting point.
Yeah, true enough.
And I've had to dial it in, but I've kind of taken some. Obviously, my measurements are not as precise as what they can get off the machine, but my caster is within the tolerances that Dynatrack provides, um, and then obviously you can't really do much for camber. You can't really set that wrong on a solid axle vehicle unless you
Nope.
bent something.
Yeah. Like a front
Um,
axle.
yeah, shouldn't bend these ones. These ones should be fine. So yeah, I'm just about ready to. I'll probably take it out for a test drive after I get the brakes bled, and start breaking in the axles so I can actually take this thing off road again.
So we're gonna go wheeling when I get back from Montana.
Probably.
All right.
It'd probably
I'm
be
looking
about that time.
Do it.
Yeah, depending upon the day, I might just drive over to your house and go hit the trail with you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just meet at the trail, and you bring your Forerunner, and we'll go through most of it, and then maybe leave your
Still
Forerunner,
have
and
no
we'll go through the
still no
West Loop.
skid plates, so yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, most of Tahuya, where there are good rock crawls,
Good point. Good point.
also, yeah. So it'll go to Tahuya for the first time just to get that to get the shakedown run, and then hopefully Rubicon this year. Definitely trying to get down to Browns Camp again. Super stoked.
Yeah, let's do Browns in the fall.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Camp out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. What have you been up to?
Well, last week I mentioned that I bought a ground tent, a peasant ground tent,
Peasant.
for our Moab trip coming up because I didn't want to pull my trailer that's got the rooftop tent on it. Um, so yep, that showed up today, and I got it all opened up in our family room, and it takes up the entire family room. It's that Gazelle T8 thing, and it just popped up. It was fast, and I, my wife, that was like the big thing. She's like, if we're taking a tent, I don't want something that's going to just take forever. Oh yeah, there you go. I forgot I sent those pictures. Yeah, so there you can see it's like taking up all the space in there. So it's the size of two T4s. So it's airing out in there, getting rid of the stinky smell, manufacturing smell or whatever. So
A new tent smell.
yeah,
So you're airing out your tent in your house to get rid of the smell into your house when you have like 40 acres.
well, the
Weather.
windows are open in that room, and it's a room between the two sets of houses that doesn't get used. So
Okay.
so it's all good. Yeah.
And all the ventilation goes into your sister's place anyway. So
It's actually backwards. Yeah, we smell whatever they're cooking. Um, I got the Titan suspension put on my Frontier. So in this picture, you can see I've got the rad flows installed, um, the inner and outer tie rods, the upper and lower control arms, and you can't really see it in this picture, but we also put extended brake lines all the way around. And then this has the Titan CB shaft in it as well. So don't have the front diff from the Titan in. That'll go in after the engine swap goes in. And so we spent Saturday working on the suspension, getting it all dialed. And then Sunday, we switched out parts and installed stuff on the engine going in. So got the headers on and everything's torqued down, replaced a bunch of hoses, replaced some power steering and AC lines, new spark plugs, um, some new gaskets, a new water pump, stuff like that. So preventative maintenance, getting it ready to drop in. So this coming Saturday, it's going in the truck. It's going to be basically as soon as we get there, we're going to lift it up with the forklift and shoehorn it in and start bolting things together. I am short some parts. The B pipes or test pipes, whatever people call them, that go behind the header before the catback, um, aren't going to make it in time for the install. So we'll be able to fire it up, but I'm not going to be able to connect the rest of the exhaust, which means I probably shouldn't drive it around. I probably still will, but so I'll be waiting on. I think that's the only real part I'm waiting on. So other than that, everything should be able to connect up
Is
and
your
be good to
harness
go.
there already?
Nope, the harness is going to be here by Friday. Had a issue with the harness,
Uh-oh.
and um, yeah, I had to mail out another chunk of harness to the guy today. So I just paid the second day it to him. He's getting it Wednesday. He's going to get it done Wednesday and get it mailed back out, and I'll have it by Friday.
What part of the harness is missing?
So, you know how I bought an entire complete truck that was four-wheel drive and it had the shifter in the correct place. It was a um,
The right model?
center console shift rather than a column shift. So all those were the right parts. Well, the engine didn't work. So we pulled the harness off of the spare engine just to make sure that it was. So I had to buy a new engine, pulled the harness off of that one, and unfortunately, I didn't know that that harness wasn't for a four-wheel drive truck. So
Mm.
it was
Oh,
missing the back half of the harness. So yeah.
But at least it sounds like he still can make it work.
Yep, he's gonna make it. So I had to mail him another chunk of harness. He is gonna get it all mated up and back to me. Um, and so it is gonna work. I just yeah, that harness I'm gonna have $150 in shipping just getting the harness out to the guy twice. So yeah, it hurts,
it's what
but
it's one of those unexpected costs that happen. It happens.
it is, yeah. Well, the unexpected costs that I didn't really put into this when I was doing all the numbers and crunching and thinking about how much it was going to cost. I did zero planning for any of the fluids. I didn't think at all about engine, transmission, transfer case, radiator, new
They're not
spark
important.
plugs, new belts. I literally have probably $800 in consumables I'm putting into this engine and stuff. Had no, I just it wasn't even registering in my brain that I'd have to be putting all those consumables in it. Yeah. So,
Oops.
yep. Oops. Yeah. Over budget. Yeah.
Now,
I'm a
was that
little over
a
budget.
tactical decision?
Nope, not at all. No, not at all. I had to let my wife know that I was definitely over budget on this, and so
How'd that
yeah.
go?
Those are not fun
Uh,
budget meetings.
well, you just got to be honest, and she understands, and I'll just have to sell something to make up for it. I'll sell Ben's Forerunner and give her the
Ooh, I'll
money
buy you
for
a
it.
365.
No, I don't think I'm gonna sell any more firearms. I'm gonna hang on to what I have.
So I saw you post something, and I think it's the group about a spark plug and a V8 Triton. Did you lose a spark plug? Or
No,
was it just
I
a meme?
no, I just shared that as a meme, and um, it's one that's been in my meme folder for a really long time. And then after I started reading the comments, and people were like, "Oh, that's an easy fix. Oh, take it to a shop; they'll fix it for you easy." I'm like, "You guys don't understand. That's just a meme, right?" And I reread how I wrote it, and it sounds like someone on the podcast had the dreaded Titan or Triton spark plug issue, and that's not the case at all. We were just sharing a meme.
Okay.
Nobody
Oh, I was
nobody
thinking
had a
you
spark plug
guys got.
blowout.
I was thinking because you're Ford. I was like, I didn't think you got one with a V8 Triton. I've got that
No.
one, and it's the worst, the absolute worst spark plug change I've ever done, because the back two spark plugs are underneath the firewall. Like literally, they're underneath the firewall. I had to use a Weeble Wobble plus. Yeah, not fun.
It's the same with my Titan engine. When I was checking compression and all that stuff, they're way back there. The back two for sure are. The second to the back two are like right at the firewall edge.
Yeah,
So
it's no fun.
yep. Well, Dirk, have you done anything off-road related at all in the past week or two?
Well, I wish. I've been just keeping the fluids going in my personal rigs, but that's just spins around the block just to make sure nothing blew up or seized up over the winter. We're mostly just prepping for the summer season at this point.
Yeah. What are you prepping for? You got any specific trip you're going on?
No, my wife's more into kind of last minute, hey, let's just pack up and go. But she's more of a light car camper, so we usually just find some forest roads out here and find a pretty spot. She's also a photographer, so anywhere that she can find that's pretty, then she's happy as clam. And the kid just doesn't care. She just runs around like a chicken with her head cut off and loves throwing dirt. So
yes,
life's good out there.
And you live in a great state for it. I mean, being here in Washington, we've got it's 45 minutes to anywhere nice.
Yeah, I'm even closer.
Just about.
I'm out towards the Cascades.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
So for our listener feedback this week, I'm going to actually read some listener feedback from the Horsepower Hour instead. I was on their show last night, and they read this listener feedback. It says, good stuff. So this is not referring to our podcast. It's referring to the Horsepower Hour guys. Good stuff, and it's by Boots in Chew. So it says, found you guys on the 4x4 podcast, and I love your stuff. I think he's referring to our podcast, not the 4x4 podcast. And I think that that's a little play on words because those guys always refer to us as the 4x4 podcast, not the off-road podcast. So there's a little backstory there. So he says, hey guys, found you on the 4x4 podcast. And I love your stuff. Listen to your podcast while I'm working on standby generators and often laugh out loud. People look at me with a weird look, but I don't care. I already listened to all your episodes, especially your one. I especially loved your Pina Colada remix. That was perfect. You guys should do a new segment about car guy homes with awesome garages. Keep up the good work. So if you are Boots and Chew, I know that wasn't our listener feedback, but I feel like they got that feedback because you heard about them on our show. So hit us up and we'll shoot you out a sticker. And I actually have one more. While I was on their podcast, Tim was in the comments, and Tim said that he followed me over to their show last night to watch their show. And so I want to give a shout out to Tim for doing some cross podcast platform listening. So we're happy that our podcast listeners interface with the Horsepower Hour guys so well.
Yeah, you should listen to my review I left them. You'll love it. On their Facebook page.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
I still need to go buy that 4x4. It's not a leak patch.
You don't have that one?
I don't
Really?
have that one.
Well, go on there, buy that patch. I'm sure they've got lots of other patches you can get too, and Jake will probably usually throw in something for you, or they have a thing where you spend X number of dollars and they'll send you one for free. Add one into your order. So I got that Danger Close one right here. Oh, there you go. Oh, Ben's not holding his up.
Mine's in the house.
Yeah. Pretty awesome. So check out those Patriot Patch guys. We appreciate them.
The news is brought to you by PowerTank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Well, our first news story here is about the 2022 Ford Maverick, and um, it might not sound like a very off-roady vehicle, being that it's a unibody town pickup, but they are going to have an FX4 package for it, which adds skid plates and larger wheels and all-terrain tires. So, and it's only available on the all-wheel drive version. So, I felt
Y-
like we could talk about it a little bit.
they're using the chassis from the Bronco Sport.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, it's obviously not going to be some crazy rock crawler, but for a dude trying to get up in the hills and go camp in his little mini truck,
Hmm.
or someone going out biking, I think it'll work for a lot of things. For just average, basic out in the woods stuff. It'd be probably a great grandpa truck for grandpa to go hunting out in the woods and need a place to put his deer and not
Yeah.
need a F-350 to drive up a Forest Service road.
Yeah. Well, it starts at like 21,490, so 21,500. That is like super inexpensive for a pickup truck. Pickup trucks are crazy expensive, so that's one amazing thing. And I heard someone say that that is the absolute cheapest hybrid vehicle that's going to be for sale ever at this point as well. So there's no other hybrids that are that inexpensive. So the hybrid is a 2.5 liter, comes with 191 horsepower. It does not give any torque numbers at this point. And you get up to 40 miles per gallon in the city with the hybrid, and that's huge for a pickup truck, and that's pretty big for a car, a four-door car as well. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, it says
Um,
it can tow up to 4,000 pounds too.
Yep. So you have to option it out to get the 4,000 pound towing capacity, but 4,000, once again, that's pretty big for what I consider a unibody city truck. So that's pretty good. It's not as much as I think it's called the Hyundai Tucson or something like that, or Tucson Sport, whatever it is, which is another four-door unibody truck that Hyundai just came out with, and it definitely isn't as much as the Honda Ridgeline, but the Honda Ridgeline's a much bigger vehicle with a bigger engine. So um, comes in front wheel drive or all wheel drive, but you can't get the all wheel drive if you buy the hybrid. It has a 1,500 pound payload. The ground clearance is 8.3 inches or 8.6 inches, depending on what you get there. And that number kind of stands out to me because that's like Subaru Outback territory, as far as ground clearance, which is pretty good for ground clearance. Obviously, you don't have differentials hanging down like you do on solid axle things, but that's pretty decent ground clearance.
It's nice to see it in that affordable range. You think about someone who wants a truckish vehicle or truck, and they're like, okay, I want a Tacoma. There's
Yeah,
$50,000 easy on a brand new Tacoma. Uh,
I,
this is
I
to
just
me
like the soundbite of truck-ish vehicle.
yeah,
well, it's a unibody, and I don't know what what the Honda whatever the crap it is
Ridgeline.
Ridgeline. I don't like Hondas anyway, so
Oh,
It's a good tweener. It's certainly gonna give a lot of people options that wouldn't consider it original. I think it's
if
supposed to be the most inexpensive Ford on the lot. So it's just a
that
good entry
makes
level.
sense.
here we go. So a basic Honda Ridgeline costs $36,000
Yeah,
for a 21. So I mean, you're still 10 grand under that for a base model.
hmm
That's a good start. I mean, I imagine they'll pick up a good amount of sales with those.
This would be a perfect college kid car. Like just load all of your stuff in the back and go up to college and have a blast with it.
I mean, you could throw four or five people in it and take them camping. You got the bed, you can get your tent in there and a cooler and whatever else, and it's going to be a great Forest Service road, state campground rig. It's going to be great for people who live in the suburbs and they want to run and go get mulch and throw it in the back rather than throwing it in the back of their SUV. I think it's going to be really good for those things. And I would totally, if I had one available to me, I'd totally drive it as my commuter rig, because there's sometimes where I'm getting off work and I need to go into town to pick up chicken feed or something for the farm, absolutely load that up in the back of this truck. And if I'm getting, obviously that's 40 city, it's going to get worse fuel economy on the highway because it's a hybrid. They always get better in the city. But
My
even if,
Camry is a hybrid, and it's 40 city, and I get 36 if I'm driving nicely on the freeway.
yeah, if I got in the mid 30s, low to mid 30s, that would be phenomenal for being able to drive a pickup truck to and from work, rather than the grandma car I'm driving. So,
It's got some cool
yep.
tricks in the bed too. I saw some coverage on that tailgate. I think that'll be a really good versatile vehicle.
Yeah, it mentions that there's a QR code in the tailgate area that you can scan, and it gives you ideas on how to build out your own, um, like kayak rack or bicycle rack or things like that. So that's kind of neat. And then one thing I read on one news site, I can't remember which one it was, but it mentioned that they've got like, spots inside the cabin where it's like a hole that you can shove something into that will allow you to 3D print your own things, and it's like a retainer hole. So whatever you printed, that you would it would be like a slot that you put the tab of the 3D printed item into. So, um, it specifically showed it on the back of the center console. So if we see a picture here at the back of the center console, maybe we'll see it when it pops up here. 183 pictures to go through there, Ben.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it's
got a
better
break.
than people that are trying to sell their vehicles and they post one picture.
Yeah,
That's
is
very
that the
true.
spot right there, Aaron?
Yes, that's one of those spots right there. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
It's I like that. Oh, there's another one right there.
That one's looks like it's under the rear seats. It mentioned under the rear seat storage you is big enough for a fully inflated volleyball, to put it under the rear seat. So I mean um, a volleyball isn't very big, but it's tall to have that much space underneath it. But once again, if it's a front wheel drive vehicle, you don't need all that crazy under tray, under the engine area or under the body area. So
Yeah, it's kind of the comeback of the mini truck.
yeah. It also mentioned that, in the bed there is a, 12-volt outlet and then an optional 110-volt, outlet as well.
That was very popular after the ice storms down in Texas.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think it's going to be a great little truck. They all come with that 8-inch display you're showing there, and, they all come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability. So it's nice they
So
don't make you choose between one or the other.
it's a sought after feature nowadays. I wonder
Yeah.
what this little card slot thing here is.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the new key. You put in your credit card.
That's how you make your monthly payments.
Yep.
Ching.
It won't drive until you swipe your card.
Yep.
So, well,
Genius.
our next news story here is the, Father's Day wish list guide. Do either one of you guys want to talk through this one?
Sure, I'll go through this. So it's got first here on the list is an Onyx off-road membership at $99 a year. We use Gaia here on the Off-Road
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yep.
But I've heard some decent things about Onyx. They're one of their offices is in Missoula. So
Hey,
um,
there's nothing wrong with healthy competition because that's what
A-
spurs everybody to be better.
that's exactly.
Absolutely.
They've got some action tracks here. I think I know a guy who sells some of those. Isn't that
Yeah, they're called treads actually. ARB treads.
treads? Treads. There we go. And
They're
then
rock solid.
the Step 22 Telekai Tech Pouch. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. The inflate tire deflator and deflator and inflator. It's a dual hose system. Step 22 Telekyle Tech Pouch. It's like a pouch for all your tech stuff. And then a Max Trax kinetic rope.
You know what's missing from that list, is anything from ARB.
I noticed that.
Yeah. You have anything off the top of your head, Dirk, that you would want to suggest for anybody for Father's Day for their
yeah.
dad, or that their wife should buy for them from ARB?
Yeah, it's been selling the little generic, but an ARB fridge is really the way to go for Father's Day. And the reason for that is it's dual purpose. So if you buy your dad an ARB fridge, it's one of those gifts that essentially you use every single day. If you do it the way my wife did it, the fridge ends up in her rig full time, and she ends up loving it all the time. Then you end up having to buy another one. But no,
Bummer.
that's one of my favorite accessories, just because it's one of, not the favorite, one of my favorite accessories, because it's something you use literally every single day.
I can just imagine like being able to, I don't know, go buy ice cream, leave it in there, and go shopping somewhere else, and not have to worry about coming back to cream.
It's a new world.
I actually just saw that in one of the groups that I'm in. Someone had a fridge. I'm not sure what brand it was, but someone had a fridge, and they were going to visit their children, and they don't have like a wherever they're going, it was like 6.5 hours away, and they don't have a Dairy Queen near them. So they bought their favorite blizzards for their kids and then drove. And when they got there, they were still blizzard consistency.
Nice. Yeah, I could think of like for my T-ball kids being able to have nice frozen Otter Pops after a game.
It's fantastic. We actually do that every year at EJS. We pack all the fridges we have and all the rigs that we bring out there with ice cream, and we hand them out in the middle of that sweltering heat, and it's fantastic.
I bet you people remember that. Remember that time I was at whatever, and ARB gave me an ice cream?
The kids remember. They're like, Dad, why don't you have ice cream every single time we go on the trail? Like, we went out with ARB and they had ice cream, and it was 100 degrees.
That's a way. That's definitely a way to get it encouraged at home. Look, babe, we
That's
can have
good
ice
marketing.
cream.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, did you know we have a giveaway going on?
We do have a giveaway. I heard about this on our last episode. And the
You
one
didn't
before
talk about
that,
last episode?
and the one before that, and the one before that. I think I've heard about this for about 10 episodes now.
All right. Well, since you're such an expert, what are we giving away?
We're going to be giving away a Warn VR Evo 10S winch, a 10-pound power tank with all the accoutrements, a Medical Gear Outfitters Overlander kit. What happened to that phrase in there?
Know.
That's interesting. Warn Bluetooth hub, and a $250 Tread Lightly subscription. So make sure you go over to our Facebook page. You'll find the Gleam link to sign up for that, and make sure you share it with your friends if you want to be that kind of guy, or keep it to yourself so you have more possibility of winning, apparently.
Although, if you share it with your friends, you actually get entries when they enter.
There you go. There you go.
So there's no reason to keep it secret.
No.
And you never know, something more might come on that list too, and you never know.
Yeah, I got to dig around the leftover parts. I might have some spark plugs we can throw in there that only have like 70,000 miles on them from my
I got some
engine
spare
swap.
bolts I didn't use.
Yeah, we could make a like a spare parts box that you take on the trail with you package that somebody could win.
Somehow, I don't think anybody's going to want to win that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to want to have to pay to ship it either, because it'd probably be heavy.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Go prepared with Warn Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warn equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
All right, Dirk, welcome to the show, man. And
Thanks for having me.
we got to start this off with our interview as we learn about you. And our very first thing we got to do is the Fast 5 Facts. You've been unprepared for this, so new or old vehicle?
Old.
Summer or winter camping?
Summer.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
Sand if it's beach, otherwise rock.
Favorite vehicle brand?
Still Toyota, but Ford's rubbing off on me.
And your favorite tire?
If Goodrich, I really like the KO2s I'm running now.
Well, why don't you tell us how you personally got started in off-roading?
Sure. Yeah, my first experience wasn't actually in the big rigs. It was actually out in the mountains out towards Mount Rainier. My dad's side of the family was out there. So my first experience was mostly on ATVs. And I had a great grandfather who had tons of space out there. And I had a dad who was just like, yeah, if you break something, he'll bounce back. And they literally, I think it was 7 years old on this gigantic ATV, just bouncing around, about to kill myself. But it was an absolute blast. I didn't get into heavy duty stuff until after college, and actually worked in the heavy duty trucking industry, and the parts division over there really gets to focus on a lot of stuff, including off highway rigs, and those are some really serious applications, like earth movers and 2-story trucks that move oil tankers, and those are just a lot of fun to watch being built and build a lot of stuff around there. And then I hopped over to ARB, and it's kind of just taken over my life.
Did you work for Kenworth?
Their parent company. So Kenworth and Peterbilt are owned by a company called PACCAR. They're based out of Washington. So I worked
Okay. I've gotten to tour their plant a couple times up there in the previous job that I did. So knowing
That was a cool
where
plant.
you were from, oh yeah, when you started mentioning like the oil moving rigs, those things are mammoth. So
They're a lot of fun. You talk about big tires. In our industry, big tires might be 40-inch 42s, and the industry I came in, big tires were taller than you are.
yeah.
So, what was the first 4x4 rig you were taking off road?
It was a lot of old Fords, a lot of old pickups, because my dad's side of the family were all big in hunting. So it was a lot of old F-150s that looked like they had bounced off a lot of trees.
What are you driving now?
5th gen 4Runner. And I love it, and my wife loves it even more. So much so that I don't think I'm going to get out of 4Runners anytime soon.
Do you have a most embarrassing moment on the trail?
I do, but it's not what you'd think. The most embarrassing moment I've had on a trail actually wasn't vehicle related. I got a number of moms really mad at me, and it's actually related to the ice cream we were talking about. We were out on the trail, and we stopped for lunch, and we're saying, hey, you guys want to have some ice cream, because we had packed the freezer full of ice cream, and I had brought too many. Like, I had literally overbought, and so we stopped a couple more times, and I kept asking all these kids, like, hey, you want some more ice cream? And these moms got super mad at me. They're like, they basically just started yelling at me, like, we can't keep telling our kids, no, you're making this hard. And that was a bit of a downer. It's one thing for somebody to get mad because you're like taking too long on an obstacle, or you're actually trying to fix something. But to have moms just yelling and screaming at you because you're trying to give their kids too much ice cream, is just like, that was almost more scarring. Never thought I'd see that day.
Yeah, that's definitely a unique, embarrassing moment.
As a parent of 2 kids, that when they have too much sugar, I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
And you're looking back at it, you're like, I just sugared these kids up and then tried to do it again and again. And these poor parents are trying to like trap their kids in a cab for another hour and a half. And I felt like a jerk.
I wouldn't. I would be like, the ice cream will probably shut them up for a little bit longer. I've got 3 boys, so it's like sometimes there's those moments where it's just like, yes, give them some more sugar so they'll
just
shut up.
Feed them
Maybe
with something.
Crash. Maybe they'll crash.
There you go.
And
you're not need to do more wheeling, apparently.
So, what's your biggest win on the trail?
Biggest win?
Yep.
I don't know. The fact that I haven't actually crashed anything, never rolled something, I consider that a win.
Have you come close and you were able to save it?
Uh, yeah. Well, the scarier part isn't so much my rigs. It's company rigs. Like when they start sliding into rocks or sliding towards trees, and that is a bit more nerve wracking. You're like, okay, these are insured, but they're company rigs. I'm just gonna get like screamed at, and my head ripped off. If I crash my own rig, okay, I go fix it, and it sucks, or it sits in my garage for a couple of years while I try and like save up enough money. But yeah, it's terrifying.
So where's your favorite place to go wheeling at?
You know, I'm not a big desert guy. I've done about a bit of that. I really do enjoy the Cascades here at home, but I think that's just because it's where I'm most comfortable. Like going through the trees and you pop out and you see Mount Rainier, like they're just huge and intimidating and beautiful against the blue sky. That's my favorite.
We take a snow trip every year down to the backside of Mount St. Helens, Mount Adams area, and yeah, we all love it in the Cascade Range as well.
That's beautiful out there. I saw some of those photos. They look like a blast.
It's always a good time. Usually a lot of debauchery, though.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Are there any places that you haven't wheeled yet that you want to wheel at?
It's on my bucket list. I actually went down to Australia on a company trip, but it was right in the middle of bushfires.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was January, right before COVID, and right in the middle of the bushfires, so we couldn't even see like half a mile away. And so I didn't get to do any wheeling while I was there in Australia. And I was there with ARB.
They've got all these big ones the other year, right?
Yeah, those were huge, awful ones. But I was there with all those beautiful rigs there, all these people that knew exactly what they were doing, where to go, and I didn't get to do any of that. So I still want to do that. I want to do at least one destination in Australia because no matter where you go, it's insane. Everything wants to kill you, but it's good wheeling.
Let me know if you need any podcast support.
Yeah, we'll do. Yep.
For an Australia trip.
It's a brutal flight, but I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we've gotten to know you a little bit more, let's go ahead and switch gears and start talking about ARB. So how long have you been with the company?
Been with the ARB for about 3 years. Yeah, I started there 2018 then. Yeah.
So how is your role? What is your role, and how's your role changed at ARB?
I'm the marketing manager responsible for North America. So any marketing channel you can think of, whether it's social events, email, influencer marketing, all that kind of stuff rolls up under me. How has the role changed? It's just gotten bigger faster, especially with how many new entrances we have to the off-road market over the last year and a half. It's gotten more intense. The expectations gotten higher. We've got more new products for more applications and working with more OEs, and it's just been more interesting, frankly.
Can you tell us a little bit about how ARB started?
Yeah. ARB started in 1975 by a guy named Anthony Ronald Brown. Let me get that right. Anthony Ronald Brown, which is ARB. Those are the initials. And his family started this whole thing. So he kicked it off, and him and his brothers built up the company to what it is today. Two of the Browns actually still run the company. So one's the managing director, which is our equivalent of a CEO, and then one's the chairman of the board. So we still have the original family founders running the place. It's located in Melbourne, Australia. It's publicly traded out there, in Australia, it's a huge company. It's hard to imagine the equivalent in the US, but they have over 70 stores there.
Wow.
A lot of bull bars.
So what was the first product that ARB made?
Well, contrary to popular belief, it was not a locker and it was not a bull bar or a bumper. It was a roof rack, and it came out of um, Anthony Ronald Brown's one of his trips. He took a trip all the way up to the north end of Australia, and he came back um, realizing that there was a huge need for more robust products, and that was because he was constantly stopping and like helping people on the side of the road and fixing things. And he came back and said, "We need something bigger, stronger than what's currently on the market." So he started welding roof racks in his garage, and that expanded to what ARB is today. So roof racks literally are the bones of ARB. We're a fabricator at heart, so bringing steel into accessories.
Nice. So you mentioned lots of new products and more OEs coming on board and things like that. Um, what all vehicles do you produce products for? Obviously, there's going to be like Toyota Tacoma and the Forerunner and the new Bronco coming out. Maybe I should ask you: are there some more obscure vehicles that people might not realize that you guys make products for?
Well, there's certainly a lot of international vehicles that we don't get here in the U.S. that we make products for. The U.S. is one of many export markets that ARB sells to. The one that comes to mind that's actually a pretty cool one is the Suzuki Jimny. It's a little box that apparently is just absolutely unstoppable.
Where's Andy and Mercedes when you need them to be drooling over that?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's a long list of applications we support, and it's virtually every OE you can think of, including a lot of some of the new entrances in the market. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it's legacy stuff. Like we have plenty of Nissan, Land Rover, Ford, and Toyota, and even plenty of GM products. And it's a huge suite. It'd be shorter to name a lot of the stuff that we don't build for.
you make anything
we don't.
for the Lotta Niva? You make anything for that car?
No, I don't think we do. Now, I will say that we pretty much stick to body on frame applications. We get a lot of requests.
That one might be body on frame.
Oh,
That's like a Russian car that you can get 4-wheel drive that has been around for like 160 years or something like that. Like the design hasn't changed forever.
I do know that our market in Russia has been expanding.
All right, so I'm looking at, they do make a bumper for the Lotta Niva.
That is awesome. That is so awesome.
Now we have to import one.
Yes. Oh, they even make a roof rack for it too.
Yeah, we probably do. You're right.
Yep, it's a ARB Deluxe 111 something. Yeah.
I will preface that with, you'd be surprised how many people will take our bumpers and try to fit it to things. the emails I get and some of the photos I'm looking at, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, I took a Jeep bumper and I welded it to my van again." I'm like, "No, don't do that. That is not a good idea." We engineer these things for a very, very good reason.
Yeah. Actually, can we maybe take a minute just to talk about that? You mentioned that you engineer them. Can you talk about what you do to engineer a bumper for a vehicle?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do absolutely nothing, just to be clear.
Okay. All right.
But no, we have a huge engineering team back in Melbourne. It's once you see it, it's pretty impressive. It's just this floor of engineers, and they're all off-road nerds, and it's fantastic. But the fabricated team that does bumpers does a lot when it comes to safety first, because they're Australian. Their safety regulations are far exceed our own. They're always amazed about what we can do legally over here, because they're very much focused on safety. So that's why all of our bumpers are airbag compatible. We are very, very studious about testing winches, because we want to make sure that no matter what direction you're trying to recover from, nothing is going to move, and you're going to rip an axle away from the frame before you're going to rip the bumper off the frame, kind of thing. So it's It's a lot of on-road testing, and we do work with a lot of OEs that require a lot of other levels of testing and a lot of other higher levels of quality than your typical aftermarket producer. So there's a long heritage of that, and we've been building them so long that we've been able to keep up with new designs and new demands that come out of some of these new platforms. But we do some crash testing for OE bumpers, and then we go to great lengths to make sure every single one of our bumpers is airbag compatible, because it doesn't do you any good to have a brand new aftermarket bumper if it's not safer upgrade than what you had originally. So there's a lot to it.
That was the reason why I chose ARB for my front bumper, was the fact that it's a daily driver and I drive it on the highway and we take it on trips. I wanted the airbags to function if there was an accident. So that was the biggest reason. And it wasn't the lightest bumper, but it was close to being one of the lightest bumpers out there for the Nissan Frontiers at the time.
Yeah, the need for ARB bumpers really stemmed out of the Australian routes too. The rumor is you're 30 times more likely to hit a kangaroo in Australia than a deer in North America, which is just mind blowing from somebody in the Pacific Northwest.
That's a lot of room.
It's a lot of room. Apparently, they're like large rabbits over there. But yeah, the idea behind the whole thing is you can be out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, a day away from the nearest help, and you can hit something doing 60 miles an hour, and it'll deflect the animal over the vehicle, and you'll still be able to get home. Because if you total your vehicle in the middle of nowhere, that's game over. You're done.
Yeah.
So it is really, really much a safety product and a get you home product for these engineers in Melbourne.
So what's the deal with the recovery points no longer being on the front of the bumpers? Because you guys, if I remember correctly, some of your older bumpers had recovery points, and nowadays I'm not seeing a front recovery point on the bumpers.
So there's a big difference between our recovery points and our tow points. And when you see it on an ARB bumper, the red recovery points are the rated forged recovery points. Those are meant to actually be used in recovery because there's a lot more load. If you see anything that's black, that's going to just be a tow point. But that's usually the difference you'll see, especially some of the newer ones. We're basically removing tow points because people were trying to use them as recovery points. And so we're like, okay, no, we're going to make a really, really clear distinction. If it's red, it's a rated recovery point, and you can use that and put as much force as you need to on it to get you out, but do not use it if it's black. And so a lot of like our new Summit bumpers and Sahara bumpers, you're not going to see some of those older tow points. A lot of vehicles now also have tow points built into the frame that don't interfere with the installation of the bumper. So we can install, like a 4Runner, for example, you can install a Summit bumper, and the OE tow points are still there. So you'll install an aftermarket recovery point for recovery, but you can still use the OE tow points just for securing it down to a trailer.
Do you have any personal favorite product besides, you can't say refrigerator, besides the refrigerator out of the ARB catalog?
Mine is actually going to be the jack. And I know that's a hotly debated topic, but once you've used one of those, it's a whole new ballgame. I call it our one finger jack, because our hydraulic jack is literally, you can just use it with your pinky. And I get to keep all my teeth every single time. And I'm not terrified or frightened of it. And it makes life so much easier. It's a good piece of recovery gear.
What would you say is ARB's best-selling product?
Globally, it's our Bull Bar, hands down. In North America, we do very well with suspension because Old Man Emu is our brand. But Bull Bars globally.
Are you guys still making the swag tents?
We do. We haven't had a lot of dealers decide that they want to take a bunch in North America, so we haven't imported them into North America in a long time. We have a huge demand, obviously, for our rooftop tents. Those fly off the shelf. But swags seem to be one of those items where people say they like them, and then when it comes to actually purchase one, not as many people actually reach their reach for their wallets and actually place an order.
Any thoughts on why?
It's a little. I mean, I think it has a lot to do with just culture around here. Like our, traditional tent isn't that shape or style, especially in the Pacific Northwest. The first thing my dad said when he saw one, he goes, "Okay, well, what happens when it rains? Like you have to open that fly, and it's like, hello, it's coming down into your tent." And so I think it's a bit of a culture deal. It's super popular in Australia because they use the cots, and it basically keeps you off the ground and away from the spiders that are this big and the snakes that'll kill you, and that kind of thing. But in North America, we did import them for a while, and they just didn't move nearly as fast as we thought they would.
Maybe I won't go with you on that trip to Australia if the spiders are that big.
Yeah, well, and the birds will kill you too, apparently.
What?
Yeah, there are like birds that will actually like gut you with this big, huge claw. Look it up; it's crazy.
It's funny going a little off
Wow.
topic on this. I saw a conversation about Australians are like, you guys are all afraid of our birds and spiders and stuff, yet you guys have bears and tigers and mountain lions and all this. It's like,
Yeah, we had that conversation actually, because once in a while when they pre-COVID
At
they
the
would come
zoo,
over.
Jeremy.
Oh,
Well, they would ask. They're like, "Well, like you guys go into the woods, aren't you afraid of like bears and cougars?" I'm like, you guys are surrounded by a moat filled with great whites and like killer jellyfish, and like you have dingoes and all this stuff that'll kill you, and you're worried about our bears. Like a bear ate somebody's lunch, and that was the last time we had a bear incident. That was about it.
Australia, if I'm not mistaken, like has a wall to keep dingoes out of, like, to block off
Certain
half the
areas.
country from the dingoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, there's like a dingo wall that they created. That we don't have a bear wall or a cougar wall.
yeah,
And we actually lost some people to cougars the last couple of years.
Yeah.
that we have. All right, back on topic.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right.
Kill
So
animals.
absolutely. How has COVID affected sales for the good or for the worse for your company?
I think COVID is, I mean, and this kind of effect has been global. COVID's allowed people to kind of realize that sometimes you just want to get out and like take a deep breath and enjoy some fresh air. So we've certainly seen a huge increase in, just like the rest of the industry, an increase in interest in getting out as much as possible. What is that?
So I shared this meme because selling parts, and I'm sure you're feeling this right now. People are like, want their parts now, and they want them to ship now.
Yeah.
And it's literally like, yeah, good luck. The supply train is just terrible.
Yeah.
Supply train.
The train is not moving out. No, actually, we're in much better shape than a lot of people, and we're very blessed by that because we actually own so much of our own manufacturing. So we have manufacturing in at least 3 continents currently,
Nice.
and it's been good to kind of control your own destiny in that respect. Now, obviously, everybody's impacted by supply chain in one way, shape, or form, but the fact that we've been able to ramp up production as fast as we can and hire as fast as we can and expand our manufacturing footprint and still continue to come out with new products is a blessing that not everybody had. So we're really thankful for that.
we were kind of talking about that before the show, and you talked about how many people you guys have hired in the manufacturing side.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Let's put it that way. It's because we have obviously manufacturing in so many different places. It's been different globally, but across the board, it's been a dramatic increase year over year. And that's just because we need to get more products. And in order to do that, we need to bring more people in to help us put them together and weld them and assemble them and get them painted. And I mean, it's just everything. In Australia, we're vertically integrated. Which basically means that like we take raw materials, we do the manufacturing, we ship them, we actually have stores, and we install them, which is a different model than the rest of the world. But that means we need a lot of hands to get all that done. But, yeah, we've been hiring like crazy, more so than I think a lot of our competitors.
So I remember when this product came out, we talked about it on the show, and it's definitely one of my favorite ones that I've seen. I'll say recently, but it hasn't really been that recent. But can you tell us a little bit more about the base rack?
Yes, that's probably my third favorite product at the moment. Um, Mostly just because it's so easy. The engineers back down south had been working on this for a long time. Roof rack was obviously is our heritage because it was our first product, um, but it's been a while since we had gone through and actually reworked the whole thing. So they went and basically threw out the rule book. They went for a fully welded rack like we've always done, but we went with totally aluminum, powder coated with our Integrate powder coat, and we did a completely different attachment system. And it is so easy to use because essentially it's a dovetail design that clamps onto a really really strong ridge um, that allows it to be super super flexible. But my favorite part about it is just it's ridiculously lightweight, which means you have more capacity, easy to take things on and off, um, and it's easy to install, which is revolutionary for us because typically a lot of our stuff is just like air lockers, for example. You want to use a professional on because you want to make sure it's done right the first time because it's a product you're going to work really really hard. These ones are lightweight, fully welded, and you can put them on yourself, which is fantastic. We've got one on the Forerunner, and I use the crap out of it. Um, the downside a lot of people will find, which we don't think is a downside, is it is fully welded, which means it's not an IKEA rack. Like you're not going to get this flat packed in a box. It's going to come to your door full size. And not everybody's a huge fan of that because shipping, but when it does show up, it's going to be stronger than anything you've ever used before because it comes from ARB fully welded. And if we know one thing at ARB, it's welding. Like we've literally been doing this for 40 years, and it's what we do. This is our core competency. So it's been a lot of fun. We're rolling out more and more applications. The most recent we rolled out was the Ford Ranger. The JL is ridiculously strong. They actually went to the extra mile in the JL to build out a internal structure just to give it even more load carrying capacity than the roofline had, which is awesome to use. Yeah, we have quite a long list of applications. Obviously, they started with tons in Australia and internationals, but we've got 3 different series of Land Cruiser, a Range Rover Classic, Old Defenders, Forerunner. We're almost done with Tacoma. That'll be a huge one for us. Talked about Forerunner. There's like 3 more that I'm forgetting. And obviously, we're doing one for the Bronco. That'll be a shoe in. We got a long list of ones we want to build them for. The nice part about this base rack is we come with this like 6 different sizes that we can put on all these rigs, which means we can have our whole engineering team just focus on these mounting kits. And we use vehicle specific mounting kits because that's the really important part when it comes to load carrying capacity. Like don't just bolt this onto anything because it's designed to take a load safely. So you're not rolling it and you're not ripping things off on the highway. Like it's designed to safely carry a very specific load. And it's whenever possible mounted into the factory mounting points. So it's a really solid product that I personally really enjoy.
So I've seen a little bit about this, but can you tell us about the links?
Yeah, so that's a vehicle interface controller, which is a fancy way of saying you can have switches or you can have a controller. And the biggest difference is links allows you to actually interact with your accessories. So lights, for example, yeah, there's a lot of people out there who allow you to switch things on and off. Not a whole lot of them allow you to like actually dim your lighting if you have dimmable lights, which we offer, or integrate them into different systems. So like, do you want them to turn on and off when you turn the vehicle on and off, or integrate them with your high beams, or do you want like courtesy lights when you shut the car off, or things like that. We have a pressure control system which allows you to basically just punch in the pressure you want your tires at, clip your hose on, and the links will just automatically sense where they're at and stop when it's done. Or if you want to, you're on your way to get Dairy Queen for your kids and you want to pre-chill your fridge, just type in what temperature you want your fridge on your way there, and it'll automatically cool it. I mean, there's loads and loads of features in a controller that you're not going to get with a Switch. Even if it's a fancy touchscreen Switch, there's things that like the brain just doesn't have, and that's what Lynx brings to the table.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah. It's a cool product.
Let's talk about air lockers. Can you tell us, maybe for people who have been under a rock, why an air locker might be one of the best options for a locker style?
Sure. So lockers are now coming in a lot of vehicle stock, depending what kind of trim levels you get. The biggest difference is air lockers are designed by four-wheel drivers, and they're designed with a lot of racers, to be frank. We've used Ultra 4 racing in R&D development for decades now, and it's allowed us to put together a product that's essentially the strongest on the market, that is going to be the last thing that breaks in your drivetrain. The biggest difference between what you're going to get from the factory and what these are going to offer you is you can do these at speed. You don't have to slow down, throw it in neutral, try and roll it at half a mile an hour to try and get it engaged. If you're doing 60 miles an hour, maybe take your foot off the gas for half a second and flip it, but just keep going. If you guys have ever seen Ultra 4 racing, it's absolutely brutal on any kind of component, let alone drivetrain, and that's kind of where these are put through the furnace, and these are what you use when you don't want to think about it and you're doing something that, like, if you want to enjoy what you're doing, or if you just are want to make sure your focus is on the rocks or it's on the trail you're on, air lockers are the way to go. There's no brainers. Hit the switch and go.
I've heard about like seals inside the air lockers going out and needing servicing or replacing. Is there something that people can do to increase the longevity of the seals, or any sort of maintenance that is suggested for air lockers?
The only maintenance we suggest for air lockers is turn them on once in a while, like once a year, for example. We had one fraction of one shipment of one batch of seals 3 or 4 years ago that had a single digit percentage of bad seals on, and we went through every single locker and swapped all those out, and went through all the consumers we had that had them in them and swapped those out, and we didn't have any issues before that, and we haven't had any issues since with seals. Seals are not the part that's going to fail on lockers. If you are doing something really, really crazy, your axle is going to fail before anything in your locker is going to fail. So there's a lot of misconception about seals, but that's the last thing you need to worry about with lockers.
Nice.
Is it more of an airline getting caught on a stick type deal?
I would not recommend ripping out airlines. I would definitely not recommend that. That's going to go back to installation. Like, make sure you're putting your airlines where they need to go. But yeah, most people are going to break the rest of their drivetrain before your locker is going to have any issues.
Don't zip tie them to your exhaust.
I wouldn't recommend that either. No, that'll screw you up real quick.
So I saw this on the website and I was super excited about it. Tell us about that Arb Bronco.
Yeah, so Ford actually started working with us on the Bronco probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
We've had a really long relationship with Ford globally because we've been working with them on global applications like the International Ranger for decades. But they basically came to us and said, hey, we're working on this project and we need the aftermarket to be ready for this when it lands, because Ford should be given a lot of credit for this, but they knew how critical aftermarket is for these types of platforms. So we started working with their engineers and their designers a long time ago, and this year was the year they basically said, okay, we're actually ready to hand you a hand-built prototype to start physically fitting stuff to, now that you've been engineering all this stuff for so long. So the front bumper you saw at East Jeep Safari and you see on our website has a lot of input with Ford's designers. It's a little edgy compared to what you're going to see traditionally coming out of ARB. And you'll see more of this style kind of bleeding into some of our other designs. This is very, very much influenced by Ford's designers and engineers. really fun project. They gave us this prototype to build for EJS, and we were able to wrap it completely with ARB steel, which was a lot trickier for us than anybody else, because obviously all of our manufacturing, all our prototypes are built in Melbourne and then flown out here for our US engineer to make sure it works and make sure it fits. And of course, it's a prototype vehicle, so it's as close to production as they can get it at the time. But it was a fantastic project. So we've got a full suite of ARB products that's going to be ready at job one. So as soon as you receive your Bronco, there'll be ARB products stateside to start bolting to it. But it was a really, really fun project, and it's a great truck to drive.
My wife is going to be so pissed after I do all this work to my truck and want to trade it in for a Bronco.
Same here.
Yeah, but once she drives it, she'll change her mind.
Very true. Yeah. That,
Well,
you guys did a great job on this Bronco. It looks amazing.
Yes, it does. I'm if you're listening to the show, I'll have pictures in the show notes. If you're watching, they're on the screen right now. I'm flashing through them. So is that the link system right there that I'm looking at?
Yep, that's a link system. So that'll drive lockers, air compressors, the integrated light bar that's integrated into the front bumper, the fridge in the back, all sorts of stuff.
So does your fridge? Can you have one of the older fridges, or do you have to have like one of the newer fridges with the Bluetooth capabilities or any of that?
Actually, all of our fridges are reverse compatible when it comes to links and Bluetooth capabilities.
Nice.
So even if you have an old fridge, we actually sell a little module that you can use to upgrade it and map it to links.
This one looks like it's a Bluetooth fridge. It doesn't have any power plugged into it.
That one definitely has power plugged into it, but it's
Does it? I don't see
is
any
it
cords
powered
anywhere. Yeah, I don't see any
powered.
cords. I don't see any
it's
cords
powered.
plugging into it.
So actually, this one's our most recent edition called the Zero. So we've got a whole line of Zero fridges in different sizes, and it's got outlets in the back and the front. So in this case,
Whoa.
if you wanted to, you could back it into your garage, and if you just wanted to pre-cool the fridge before you go on a trip, you just plug it into AC power, even though it's still connected to DC, and you can just pre-chill it and before you go out.
That's awesome.
Fancy.
I'll insert my foot into my mouth now.
Yeah. And those are available as Ford Performance products now, which is a pretty good deal if you're going out and buying a new Ford.
So I didn't realize that ARB had made sliders. So was that a new thing for the Bronco that you guys made sliders? Or have you made sliders in the past?
So we make two different types of products for that area of the vehicle. We have steps and brush guards, and then we have sliders. And we make sliders for the Jeep applications. So for Jeep Gladiator, the JL, we make sliders. And when we call them sliders, it means they can take the full weight of the vehicle. So they test them each individually to make sure you can drop the entire rig on this and it's going to protect your vehicle. But those are those Broncos are our sliders, and we actually do a folded step design, and it's easier to see from underneath with some different shots. But it gives this rigidity that you are not going to get with a round slider or just like a square slider. It's a really, really slick design that our engineers did a lot of really solid testing on to get to a point where you could really drop that thing on a rock in the middle of Moab and slide it right off and be fine.
Yeah, they look really nice, and it looks
They're
like there's
stout.
some jacking points on the ends of it.
Yeah, so there's one on each end, specifically for recovery. So you can actually have some shots of us in Moab using that to take a tire off the ground, but they're specifically used to get you out of a jam.
Well, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show, Dirk. We've wanted you on for a while. Where can we find ARB online?
ARBUSA.com. That's where you'll find everything related to all the products we discussed, including all the new Bronco products coming out.
Are you guys on the social medias too?
We are. Instagram is ARB 4x4 USA. Same as Facebook, and then Twitter, it's also ARB 4x4 USA.
Right on, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. We also want
Appreciate you
to,
having me.
yeah, we also want to thank everyone who is listening to our show live. Everybody out there who hangs on when we go late, almost every single show. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you watching us live on YouTube and through the Facebook platforms. Really appreciate you guys out there. Make sure you're sharing us with your friends. Make sure you go to our Facebook group and sign up in there. We're still trying to catch up with the Horsepower Hour Facebook group, so getting close. Feel like we'll overtake them soon. So share it with your friends and write us a review. Send us a review, and we'll read your review on air and shoot you out a sticker. So we appreciate you guys, and God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.
You know, I didn't mention how dirty my Forerunner is after all those tires being in there. You'd think it'd be
Oh,
pretty
I bet
clean.
I
I've
bet it's
got
pretty
black
gross in the
scuffs
back.
all over. Black scuff. Yeah, it was disgusting.